evening, everybody. I see people joining us. So just going to give a little chance for people to log in and get themselves set. I can see quite a few people already entered. So numbers are increasing nicely. So it looks like people are connecting with us. So I think we will start off. Welcome everybody to the RPI School of Architecture student panel. Congratulations to all of our admitted students. Congratulations, that's fantastic news. We look forward to welcome you to RPI and to On Campus one day. But right now we are in a webinar for our student panel for the School of Architecture. My name's Matt Stabler. I'm one of the assistant directors for undergraduate admissions, and I'm the School of Architecture liaison. This evening, we're going to be hearing from four of our current architecture students. We have Carson, Hiba, Liliana, and Scott. You'll be able to ask them questions via the Q&A feature, which is accessed using the button at the bottom of your screen. It's going to be a moderated chat. I'll be looking at the questions. So although you won't see the questions published straight away, don't worry, I do see them. Some questions will be answered verbally by the students, and some will just be answered via myself, via the chat box. If there are any questions that we don't get to, then I will reach out to everybody with some answers in a couple of days or so. And this webinar is also being recorded. So if you want a copy of the recording, then please email me in a couple of days, and I can also share the slides with you. So before we go to our architecture students, I'm just going to share some information with you. Just bear with me for a second while I pull that up. Hopefully you can see my screen. Just got to move a couple of windows around so I can see. There we go. And just a quick overview of the School of Architecture. It qualifies you to sit for your architecture licensing exam after you've graduated. You also need to have worked in the field for a little while, and maybe our students will talk about some of the licensing information later on. But the School of Architecture has some tremendous experiential features. We have the Center for Architecture, Science and Ecology down in New York City called CASE. We have an amazing study abroad program. We had a group in Italy back in the fall, and we have a group in Argentina in the spring. But it's a very strong program, a great blend of art and science and technology. Some of our design studios, I've got some pictures here. You can kind of see the different spaces for some of the hands-on areas, some students crafting some models, renderings, and also you can see the computer lab specifically for our School of Architecture students. $750,000 worth of computer lab and equipment there. And some of the fabrication facilities, ceramic press mold, a 3-axis mill, 3D cutters, laser printers, etc. I know we've got an acoustic studio, but some great hands-on facilities for our students as part of their project work. And looking at some of the classes that our students take, the architectural design classes and the design classes in the computer labs, you'll be doing those in your very first semester. You're getting straight into architecture and digital modeling in your first full semester, and then they continue throughout the 5 years while you're with us. Also classes on building systems, materials, energy, sustainability, the environment, also the business side of architecture as well, to give like a different perspective. And then the Arch program, which is a little bit different for architecture students, and you might have heard about it, but only maybe in the context of maybe an engineer or a computer science student, but it's different for architecture. So you don't have to do the summer semester when you're an architecture student as part of the Arch program. But you do have to do 2 semester away experiences. And examples of those semester away experiences are the study abroad program, a semester down in New York City at Case, internships and co-ops, and also community service. So you've got a couple of choices, pretty flexible, and you can work with the School of Architecture on getting those set up. And you have to do 2 of those by the end of the 4th year. So that's a lot, but they're great experiences. But just to reiterate, you don't have to do that summer semester on campus. Okay. And now we're going to go over to our students. They're going to do a little introduction, and then I will start to feed some questions. I'm going to ask Carson to go first, if that's okay, and then I'll leave it up to you folks to introduce yourselves one at a time.
Hi, my name is Carson. I'm a 4th year architecture student. I'm originally from California. I'm currently in our comprehensive design studio sequence in our curriculum, which I think we have some questions about later. And yeah, that's it about me.
Okay, so I'll go next. Hi everyone, my name is Hiba. I'm also a 4th year student and I'm from Connecticut, so not too far from Troy. And I'm taking a vertical studio, which obviously we can get into later, which is actually a robotic studio.
I can go next. I'm Scott. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm also a 4th year architecture student, and I'm also taking CD2 with Carson. And outside of architecture, I'm in Sigma Chi fraternity at RPI.
Hi, I'm Liliana. I'm also a 4th year architecture student. I'm from Long Island, New York, and I'm also in CD2 with Carson and Scott. And I'm also an AIAS and I'm an AIAS mentor.
Okay, thank you very much. So those are the students that are going to be chatting with us this evening. Some of you provided some questions ahead of time, so we're going to use those as a leaping off point, but please use that chat box, the questions and answer box, to send in your questions for our students to answer. But the first question I kind of touched on already, the licensing feature of the architecture, because it's a professional degree. If one of the students could chat a little bit about what qualifies you, what you need to do, if you can just talk about the licensing process, please.
Yeah, I can start. So for an American architecture license, you need to check off a few boxes, and those are managed by the education side is managed by the National Architectural Accreditation Board, or NAB, who we are intimately familiar with at this point. We're actually getting reaccredited right now. This is like we've been around for what, 110 years, so we're up for reaccreditation. Um, so you have a few options. You can get a 4-year undergraduate architecture degree, which is a non-professional degree, and that's a bachelor's of science or a bachelor's of art. And then you would get a master's of architecture after that. So that entitles you to get a license to practice architecture, but we don't have that program. So what we offer is a 5-year Bachelor of Architecture degree, which means that after graduating, your boxes checked off for the education portion of your architecture licensing, as opposed to some other schools where you have to do 6 or 7 or 8 years. We have to do 5 years. So we have it all rolled comprehensively into our curriculum to get that done. And then after that, you go out into the field and you start to practice and you fill out your AXP, your architecture experience hours, which are moderated by NCARB, the National Council of Architecture Registration Boards. And I think it's 3,700 hours that you need over however many years it takes you to do that. And they're in different categories from practice management, construction management, design development, construction design, stuff like that. And what's nice is you can actually start chipping away at those hours while you're doing internships over the summer. So I have like 300 hours done of my 3,700 hours that I have to complete, which is a lot more, but that's what being a professional is. So I know the question was mainly after graduating from RPI, can you get licensed? And the answer is yes. You don't need to get another degree, like some other programs do at different schools. So that's one of the reasons I chose RPI was because I could actually continue with my licensing process after I graduated.
Okay, thanks, Carson. Anything to add from the other students, or did that pretty much sum it up?
I think Carson pretty much summed it up really well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Then another question that was sent in ahead of time. How do studio classes compare to regular lecture-based courses? Maybe
I can
somebody
talk
different
about
wants to
this one.
answer that one.
Yeah, I can talk about this one. Studio classes, so they're a lot longer than regular lecture classes, and they mostly operate as like usually like a time for you to work. Like you meet with your professor for like maybe like 20, 30 minutes and they sort of guide you, and then the rest of the 3, 4 hours you're just usually producing. And usually it depends because the professor needs to meet with at least everyone in the studio. But for how it worked my freshman year was would touch base with the professor, do a bunch of iterations, and then by the end of the class would like show them what we did, and it would move on from there. And we have a studio is 3 days a week, and it's my favorite class, and I'm pretty sure it will be all of your favorite classes too.
Yeah, studio is really it's the class. It's like our main thing. And it's night and day from like a lecture class where you sit down and take your notes and take a quiz and whatever. Like studio classes, you don't get like there's no tests, there's no exams, there's no quizzes, there's no like lecture. Well, there's sometimes the professor will give like little pseudo talks and whatever. And studio is really nice because it's usually 7 to 10 people that get one professor to work with all of them.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a more like intimate connection with your professor for studio compared to like lecture classes where they mostly just like talk to the students as like as a group. But for studio, you get more like one-on-one time, and then you get to also talk to the people in your studio as well. So you get to kind of connect more with those people that are doing the same thing as you.
And the point of studio is like you're making a thing, so you're producing something. Usually it's some sort of building. So like for comprehensive design studio right now, what we're doing is we're developing a library. Lily's studio desk is actually right across from me, so we look at each other every day. But it's also really cool because when you spend upwards of 4 hours a day in the same room with the same people, you get to know them really well. And it's not like sit there and be quiet for 4 hours. It's like you can go talk and compare notes and say, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm having a hard time with this. Do you have any advice on this? Or, hey, can I have some of your snacks? Oh, I forgot my charger. So you get to really know the people that are in your studio.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Bella has a great question here. What have your experiences with traveling abroad, doing study abroad, being with RPI, and any specific memories or experiences that stand out? I know
I
Carson's
mean,
done study abroad, but I don't know if the other students have or not.
yeah, I'm pretty sure all of us have studied abroad. I think we all went to Italy. I know I was in Italy with Scott and Carson, and it was a really, really cool experience. I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything. It was so cool to be like in a different environment and then practicing architecture in a different like context. So you kind of have to like figure out how things work over there and like how your like design would like interact with that. And then you also just get a whole new like life experience of like living abroad and like try like going to different countries and traveling a lot. So I think it was a really cool experience. And you also learn a lot of history too, with at least with Rome, like because there's just history all around you. So I think that was also a great experience because like knowing the history of architecture is so important for knowing like how to design now. Like everything kind of like connects and like I just think it was a really overall like great experience to have.
Yeah,
It was also, no, you go ahead. Sorry.
studying abroad in Italy was probably my favorite college experience. It was just having a studio that focused on like Italian design, which is like a huge part of architecture, was really awesome. And then also just being in Europe, it's so easy to travel to other places. So like on the weekends, we were always going to different cities in Italy or like different countries. Like over Thanksgiving break, we went to the UK. It was just an awesome experience.
Logistically, it's also nice because the way our curriculum is structured, it's very specific what needs to happen and when. So RPI handles a lot of that for you. So it's not like you're on your own communicating with this other institution that you're going to go study abroad at. So like housing is set up for you, all of your classes and transfer credits and everything are set up for you because it's like a partnership that RPI has with the University of Arkansas, who has this like facility in Rome. And you actually have an RPI professor go with you, so you're not like alone by yourself. So it's easy to integrate into your curriculum.
Okay, excellent. Excellent answers. It's good to hear that such a positive experience. Got a question here from Samantha asking about what is the process with minors? Is it possible to create your own minor? And it sounds like Samantha is interested in construction management. But if you could talk about the minors and maybe some of the electives, the HAS requirements, just talk about the flexibility and the different options that are available.
So I think I could touch up on this a little bit. So here at RPI, how we actually go about this is we're required to go down a pathway, is what they call it. And so, for example, my pathway is creative design and innovation. So besides my degree of architecture, my bachelor's, I'm also working towards my pathway. So that's setting up certain amount of classes that may not be architecture related. So for example, some of the other classes I'm taking are graphic design. I'm also taking a typography class. And so that pathway can actually lead to a minor. It just depends on the amount of credits you can do. For me personally, my pathway is leading up to a graphic design minor, which I intend to declare soon.
Has anybody got some other experiences with the HAS pathways and minors and the electives that you have?
I personally, I don't have a minor, but I know it was briefly mentioned construction management. I will say that's less something that you learn in an academic environment and something you learn more being in the field. That's why it's like a required portion of your architectural experience that you need to have in order to take your exams and be licensed. So ultimately, construction management, you learn more of that being in the field. And ultimately, even if we did have a program that focused on construction management, it's hard to emulate what that actually looks like and what you're actually learning in an academic environment. So you're going to be learning more of that in the field than in school.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for that, Carson, and hopefully that answers Samantha's question. Let me see. We've got a question here. Where are we? Oh, yes. So is a 5-year architecture degree better than the 4+1 degree that some other institutes offer? What's the purpose of the 5 years or the 4+1? And I think this was kind of mentioned earlier, but I want to make sure that it's maybe clarified.
So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily better. It kind of depends on what you're looking to get out of your education. So some reasons why people might choose a 4-year architecture degree as opposed to a 5-year architecture degree is because they want to do something more, I'll say artistic perhaps. So some schools offer 4-year degrees without being accredited schools, so they offer that with the intention of you going out to another institution and getting a master's afterwards. NAB, I know, is also transitioning to this like 4+2 situation where you get a 4-year bachelor's of art or bachelor's of science and then a 2-year master's of architecture. And then some of those schools have that where you are working on your licensing hours after school. You actually come out of the school licensed. I know some friends who are in programs that do that. It's just kind of a different way that NAB is structuring their curriculum right now. I will say though, as a caveat to coming out of school licensed, having your architecture license does not make you a good architect. It doesn't necessarily mean you know how to do all the things that an architect needs to know how to do. And so it kind of depends on the institution that you're going to. The 5-year bachelor's of architecture is, I don't know exactly when that started being like the norm, but that's the model that a lot of the larger schools go towards. So like Cornell has a 5-year art program, RISD has a 5-year program, Cooper Union has a 5-year program. And so RPI also has a 5-year program. It's nice because it's one degree that you have to get, and then you can pursue all of the rest of your licensing things than having to like reorganize your curriculum. I did see that it says a 4+1 master's degree. I'm not entirely sure, and I could be wrong, but I don't think a 4+1 exists. I think it's usually a 4+2 or a 4+3, so it's 6 years rather than 5. So ultimately, for me, I chose a 5-year degree because it checks off your education boxes in the shortest amount of time, as opposed to needing to get a master's degree. So that's less time spent in school, less money you're spending on, semesters that you're getting your education. But it also depends on where you're like looking to live sometimes. I know some other schools that do offer 4-year degrees are less established in their architectural department, so it's nice to have like a dedicated 5-year program because since we have to get all of that accreditation stuff down, it really makes a very solid school that focuses on that kind of stuff rather than it being kind of like a side program that's offered.
Any of the other students want to add any kind of opinion on the comparing the two, or is that pretty much your same feelings? Okay, I think we're all in agreement there. Thanks for that, Carson. Good description. Casey asks about dual majors and double majors, and I know that they're quite hard to do in architecture. I've only heard of a couple of examples, and I feel those students might have brought in maybe plenty of transfer credit. But I'm just wondering for the panel, do they know of any students that are doing like a dual major architecture with something else, maybe civil engineering, for example, or something else?
I don't know anybody that's doing that, but I do know that there's some people that are like a different major, but then they do a minor in architecture. So I think if you wanted to do both, like architecture and something else, like that would be your better way to go. Because like with architecture, you have like so much to do is kind of hard. Like I don't think it would be possible to be able to do two majors with architecture, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, from what I've heard, because of the professional requirements of the degree, being able to add a second degree makes it really difficult. But yeah, I think the major minor combination is probably the way to go. That's what I hear. But thank you. It's good to hear the students with that same kind of opinion as well. So another question from Veronica. Could you talk a little bit about internships, co-ops, work experience? If you've got any feedback on those experiences that you've had?
I can talk about that. So I had my first architecture internship just last summer. So that already checked off going abroad and doing that checked off my boxes for Arch. And it was just a great experience because I was able to use all the same programs that I use in architecture school. And it helped me, I want to say it helped me a lot in my education, like just keeping up with all the work that I was doing in architecture school. It's good to just keep that momentum. And then you learn so much in the actual field that it really helps you when you go back to studio and start doing projects back in school.
I
Yeah, for
also
me, sorry.
go ahead, go
For
ahead.
me, I did also a internship this past summer, and for the software that they had us using, it was totally different than what I've been using in school. So I had to like learn a new software. So I think that's also a great opportunity if like you're working somewhere that uses different softwares, because there's like a bunch of different softwares that like these firms can use. And if they're nice, they'll be able to teach it to you. And then that's another software that you can like add to your resume of knowing. So I think it's good with internships that you can like kind of expand your horizons of like what the architecture field like uses, and then also getting more like in-person experience with things. Like I got to go to a lot of site visits, so they would show me around and kind of like point out things that they were working on or like important parts of the design. So I think that was really helpful in being able to like visualize like what they're doing and like what's happening like in the field in real life, because sometimes it's kind of hard to connect your like designing in studio with like real life stuff. So I think internships really help you kind of realize what you're going to be doing after school.
Yeah, I
And
also go ahead, sorry.
no, it's okay, Carson, you can go ahead.
Okay. I also had an internship this past summer, and I wanted to reflect what Lily said about the software. So in school, we use Rhino. That's our main program that we use to do all of our CAD modeling, rendering, all that stuff. Um, but I know a lot of firms in the professional realm use Revit, which is a very different program, but it also says something to know how to use softwares versus know what you're actually doing with the software. It's like drawing with a pen or a pencil. It's different tools, but knowing how to draw is really what the point is when you're using a pen or a pencil. So knowing, how what you're actually doing in the program and what you're actually made up is ultimately more important than knowing how to use like this software versus that software. So you're going to learn all these different things having internships and having job experiences, or just like on your own. But it's not necessarily so much like a hindrance if you don't know how to use a certain tool or a certain program, as opposed to like knowing what you're actually doing with the programs and with the different kind of platforms. But it's also great to have an internship. I know I've everyone that I know in my year has had an internship by now, and they're all really awesome experiences. You kind of go have your internship and learn all these things that you didn't think about, and then you come back to school with a completely different set of um, skills and knowledge that you can apply towards your projects, and you can apply towards different things that you end up doing after school or continuing to next internships and all of that. So
And just to add on to this conversation, I think one thing that RPI does really well is their career fairs. So our career fair is coming up on Thursday. And so we have a separate career fair just for the architecture majors, where around like 30 firms actually come up to RPI. And this is a chance for us to connect with them, for them to get to know us, and for us to get to know about the firm. And they come over from New York City, Connecticut, upstate New York, about a lot of different regions. And so it's a great opportunity that RPI integrates within, the culture here, where we can have the opportunity to look for these internships.
Just a quick follow-up. Obviously, a lot of connections are made through those the career fairs, and that's brilliant. Who else on campus helps get those co-ops and those internships? Could you talk about the other people that are helping out on that side?
I know that there is a career center on campus as well. And so if you do go to them, they can help you with your resume and more general approaches to an internship. So they're always helpful as well.
And do faculty also have any leads? Do they help out too?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, faculty are definitely like a huge part of helping. So we actually have a portfolio course integrated in our curriculum where we go and we develop our portfolios with faculty advisors that go through and we make sure that they all look good, and we go over making a resume and making a cover letter and making all those things. So we actually have that integrated into our curriculum, which is quite nice. And it's also really great. You can go ask all of your professors. I've asked numerous professors, hey, can you look at my resume? Hey, can you look at my portfolio? What do you think about this? And a lot of them do have connections to other firms that they're willing to connect you with. Or like I had a professor that ended up moving to a different institution. And so she is now on the West Coast, and she has a friend that was at a firm looking for interns. So that was a great connection that I was able to make. So your professors definitely help you a lot, and faculty is really, really helpful with that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good to know. You've got the faculty connection, you've got the college fairs, the career fairs, yeah, and the Centre for Career and Professional Development on campus. So they're all pulling for the students to get these great experiences. So Mia had a good question. Is hand drawing or computer drawing more common, or are they kind of equal?
Computer drawing is definitely what we use mostly. Usually I do hand sketches, like we'll do like little quick hand sketches for ideas, but everything is usually done on the computer. I don't think I can't think of a single studio I've had where we've actually done like hand drawings for the final, but just little sketches usually, and then that translates over to the computer.
I know for Rome study abroad, there was a class we took that was like hand sketching. So we went to like different locations and sketched. So I know that's a class that you can take, but you would have to go study abroad in Rome to take that class.
And that being said, even though our studios don't, like our final products and deliverables don't end up being like hand-drawn things, and we don't necessarily hand draw as part of our coursework, it's kind of incredible how much better you get at hand drawing and hand sketching, even drawing in a computer. Like I didn't take any art classes in high school. Like when I was doing all of my college applications, the most recent art class I had taken was in seventh grade. Um, and then I came to RPI and I was like expecting, oh, I'm going to do some hand drawing. No, not really. But it kind of teaches you how to think three-dimensionally. Being in architecture school, it teaches you how to look at things and like represent things. So I've certainly grown a lot in my sketching and drawing abilities, even though I'm not explicitly doing it. I'm still able to convey my ideas through sketching and drawing a lot. It's just kind of something you pick up by doing it. It's not necessarily something that's like laid out that like this is how you set like your pen pressure and this is how you represent shadows and stuff. It's just kind of something that you pick up accidentally.
Okay, thank you. That was a good question, and good to hear. Good to hear some good answers there. So Bella has a question. Is there a pathway to do an architecture major and then do a minor, and then go on to get a master's in that minor? So I'm just wondering if you've heard of any students going on to do a master's in their minor. I'm just wondering if you've heard of any stories of that realm, and if not, I can always find out from graduate admissions about how that might be handled.
So RPI, I know, does have a co-terminal master's program, and the School of Architecture has a few programs integrated with that. So basically, how that translates is you have a minor. I know one of the programs we have is like is lighting, and so I think lighting and building science, is that one of the ones we have right now? I'm not sure, but there's other ones too, industrial engineering, civil engineering, I think, where you have your minor in that program, and then after you get your bachelor's, you spend an extra year here to so you're kind of already doing all of the requirements for the master's program while you're doing undergrad, and then after you get your undergrad degree, you spend one more year, and then you get your master's. And that's a really nice program because you essentially just stay here for another year with the same terms that you did originally. So you get to, as far as I understand, you get to keep all of your financial aid, and spend just another year here to get a master's degree. So I know some people that have done that and are pursuing that currently.
Yeah, I think I'm just pulling up something here. Yes, a lighting minor, architectural acoustics. That was the one had rattling around in my brain. Do you know if you can do acoustics at the master's level, having taken it as a minor?
I'm not entirely sure. I would have to look, but
Yeah,
I think
so
the
it sounds like there are a few options. There's a sustainability studies minor, um, and an architectural history minor, and then obviously there's lots of other minors like in civil engineering or design, for example, and then you might be able to go on and do a master's with them in those fields. So it doesn't have to be like a linear process. You can kind of go off at a little bit of a tangent. With the co-terminal program that Carson mentioned, it's actually now called the Accelerated Masters Program. It went through a little bit of a rebranding, and on the financial aid side, RPI will pay for up to half of the tuition of the master's program. So up to half, and that depends on the academic performance. And you don't have to apply for that as an incoming first year for the undergraduate program. You would apply for that kind of in your junior, senior year while you're here at RPI. So you don't have to kind of sweat that detail, but just know that's it's a nice financial incentive. But obviously, getting the master's, getting that deeper level of knowledge and learning and education, the outcomes and opportunities are a lot more attractive. So some great reasons to continue your education at RPI, or maybe another great institution on the master's level. A good question here from Samarth. Samarth asks about time management, which is obviously really important for any student, but I imagine especially so for architecture students. And Samarth also asks about, working late at night. Is that pretty common as an architecture student?
Yes, it is. We work long hours, late into the night, early into the morning. It's a it's a lot you have to do. I won't sugarcoat it. There's a lot you have to do. Time management is a very big thing for us, um, as it is being an architect in the world. But it's also nice because you have a support network. Like I said, you spend all this time in the same room with the same people. You support each other, you pump each other up, and you kind of are there for each other when things get difficult. But it's a lot of work. You spend a lot of time doing it, but it can be very rewarding at the same time, being able to look at your portfolio and go, wow, yeah, this is some stuff that I've made. And I've spent a lot of hours doing this, and it paid off.
And another student, Tessa, also asks about having time to get involved in clubs as well. So again, I think some of you mentioned clubs earlier, but if you can talk about your involvement with clubs and maybe some of your other friends in the program, what clubs they're involved in.
So I can briefly touch upon this. So although there is a lot of work within the architecture department, it is definitely possible to be involved in different clubs and organizations on campus. again, it's all about your time management. So it's up to you and your self-discipline to like organize your time wisely. So personally, I was the captain of a dance team, which obviously took up a lot of time outside of school, but I was able to handle it as well as my architecture studies, just through the use of time management and blocking out my time accordingly. And so I know other students are athletes within the architecture department. So not only are they pursuing their bachelor's of architecture, but they're also on a sports team. So it all depends on your time management and how you actually designate specific timings for that.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. Just I know a few, I'm in Greek life, and I know a few other kids in my year also in Greek life. And one way that I went about that was my freshman year, I did not join a fraternity because I just wanted to like settle in, get used to the major and see how much work it was. And then that drove me to once I saw that I could manage my time well, I decided to like join a fraternity and spend time doing other stuff other than architecture.
I love that. That's a great idea. I love that, like kind of take your time and wait till you kind of work a few things out with the time management and then get involved. That's a really smart way to go ahead about it.
Yeah, I also wanted to add on with like doing things outside of architecture. You do have a lot of work you have to do, and it can be really stressful sometimes. So it's really important to have like an outlet for that and like doing something that you enjoy and that makes you happy so that you're not just like stuck in like burnout all the time. Like you have something that you can look forward to. So I think it's important that you work to like manage your time and be able to have space for both of those things so that you can like stay in a good, like positive like view of things.
I'll say you can definitely you can make architecture your whole life, but you don't have to. You can do all sorts of other stuff. It's completely doable.
Awesome. Thank you. Good question, though. Very good question. It's a very important time management skills. Shan asks about the facilities for architecture. Can you just name some of those shops that you use for your fabrications?
Laser cutters. We use, I think that's probably the most used tool in the green building, and we actually just got a brand new laser cutter, so that's really exciting. We have a full wood shop, we have a robotics lab, we have a ceramic studio, we have a computer lab, and then there's also a bunch of other facilities on RPI's campus that we can use. So there's like the Forge student manufacturing space that's actually run by a different club that has 3D printers and laser cutters and vinyl cutters and sewing machines and all sorts of stuff. If you contact the managers of other fabrication shops, you can use like the School of Engineering has a metal shop and they have like water jet cutters and more robot arms and all this crazy stuff that I can't even imagine. But our fabrication resources aren't necessarily limited to just the School of Architecture, although the School of Architecture does have our own dedicated fabrication space. So if you like woodworking, you can do woodworking. If you like 3D printing, you can do 3D printing. If you like laser cutting, and you're going to have to because we do a lot of laser cutting, there's all sorts of things that you can do. I also do want to say about the computer lab, which is really a great development the past year, is we have a lot more computing resources than we used to. So for like rendering, which is when you make a 3D model and you take it into a program and you apply textures to everything and lighting and you let your computer sit there and get hot and spit out a image. It used to be that you kind of had to have this big chunky computer that could handle these really hard tasks, but now we have external graphics cards in our computer lab. So if you have a um, like a slimmer computer, you can actually plug that in and use the computing power of this external unit to do a lot of that work for you. And which is my new favorite thing in the entire world is you can actually send your rendering file to a cloud server, and RPI gives you a bunch of cloud rendering credits. So you can send that to a computer server that'll actually like generate those images for you. So you can send those and go to sleep without worrying about your computer, and you can shut your computer off while that's processing for you. And it's like a million times faster too. So we've got some really great resources.
That's
I
excellent.
also, sorry, I wanted to mention too, I saw in chat someone was asking about like materials, and our fabrication shop does sell a lot of the materials that we use at a pretty reasonable price. So you don't have to like always go out and like buy materials like from other places. Like a lot of it is in the fabrication shop that you can buy, and you can like kind of decide what materials you use for a lot of the models. So you don't always have to spend like a bunch of money on your models. Like you can still use like cheaper materials and make it look good. It all depends on like how you design and like build your models. So I think that's important to keep in mind.
And that being said, you can certainly spend $1,000 building a model, or you can spend absolutely nothing. So I did not buy any materials last year because I got everything from the recycling bin. And it worked out quite well for me. So you can be resourceful. Um, it just kind of depends. And it comes with learning, but yeah, it's nothing too crazy, I'll say. But yeah, we have materials that can be bought. And you can also like order stuff online, and you can buy stuff at the bookstore. But biggest material that you end up using in first year is taskboard, which is this like chunky, thick, like cardstock, but it's like way thicker than that. And it's this like paperboard that you laser cut into pieces and you glue them together. So that's mostly what you're going to be buying, but it's not too bad.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just going to answer this one. Bella asks about robotics on campus. I'm actually some of the questions we're not going to get to tonight because we've got quite a few to go through. So I will be following up with an email to everybody. And Bella was asking about robotics programs and FIRST robotics, and I know we've got students that do a volunteer work with that. But I'll be able to follow up with that in an email to everybody. Samantha asks about kind of going back to the architecture degree, the benefit of an accredited degree versus a non-accredited degree. Can one of you speak a little bit about that?
That really boils down to if you want to be licensed or not. So you can work in an architecture office with a non-accredited architecture degree. You just won't be able to be licensed and either have your own practice or be licensed in your practice. So it really boils down to if you want to be licensed or if you don't. If you really, really don't want to be licensed, then you don't have to get an accredited degree if you don't want to. But ultimately, the reason for getting an accredited degree is to be licensed. And that could be because you want to have your own firm and have your own ability to stamp drawings, or working in another firm. I know a lot of firms have pretty substantial pay benefits for people that have licenses. And depending on who you work for, you can become kind of an asset because you wield the power to stamp drawings and have them approved for construction. So it kind of depends on what you want to do professionally, if you are really requiring that professional degree or not. But that's like
Okay,
the biggest thing.
gotcha. Thanks for that, Carson. Simi asks a good question here. How many design projects do you usually do a semester?
So usually we're working towards one design project each semester. But obviously that's a pretty lengthy process, and there might be different kind of assignments or mini projects within that. But usually, for example, for the comprehensive design studio, the design project that you're working towards is a library. So you spend the semester working towards that library and designing it.
We also have seminars that we could take, smaller like design things, and we have undergraduate research projects, which are other opportunities to design things. But ultimately, like in your curriculum, primarily you're only going to be designing one thing, but you can be doing like as many as like 3 or 4 smaller things at one time. it just kind of depends on what you end up enrolling yourself in. Or you can do things on your own just because you want to. I've made plenty of things just because I want to and because I have access to all these fabrication resources. So take advantage of things. Don't limit yourself to your academic calendar.
Okay, Alexandra's got a great question here. What aspect of RPI made you decide that this was the college and architecture program for you? Why did you come to RPI?
I can talk about that. My main deciding factor was because it's an accredited program, just because I want to get my license like as fast as possible. And then another reason why was just I liked the distance from Boston and the great abroad programs. Like that was something that I really wanted to do going into college was study abroad, and RPI offers a really good number of programs, and I got to go on one, so it's probably why I chose RPI.
I also want to add that I think the size of the school is good because it's like a smaller community, and I think you were able to connect easier with like your classmates. So I think you end up feeling like a big family, and it's a really nice community to be a part of.
It's also nice being, you feel like a part of the School of Architecture rather than just like a name on their list that they're trying to push through their curriculum. It's nice you really feel like an active participant here. Like you can talk to the dean in the elevator and like share jokes with him. You can like have these really great close connections with professors and do all sorts of stuff. So it's really different than going to a program where there's like 3,000 other people and you're like just going through the cycle and going through the curriculum without really being like a part of the program. So it's awesome to be part of the institution and like know a lot of the professors by name and know a lot of the faculty and staff by name and have the dean like give you like little jokes in the elevator and stuff like that.
Okay, Samantha's got a question. How do you feel? Do you feel like the education at RPI has prepared you for life after graduation? And anything in particular that makes you feel that way?
Yeah, I say it would. Um, Architectural education is hard. It is difficult, it's time consuming. But I also feel like it's really great at preparing you for dealing with, just life in general. It's a lot to manage going to work and coming home and cleaning your house and all these things. And being in architecture school, you really get to learn how to manage all those things so that when you get into the actual world, it's not that hard and it's doable. And you also learn a lot of technical skills. You learn a lot of ability to talk, confidently about these things in internships and with, real jobs that you end up having. So those are really awesome aspects.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think one of the reasons why RPI does it so well is that the first like classes you take the first few years are more like design and just like building like good ways to design. And then sort of near the end, like third and fourth year, they start bringing in classes like ProPrac where they start teaching you about like codes and stuff and how to get licensed. And then that just sort of prepares you more. And it's just an easy step by step from year to year, and it easily prepares you as you go further in your education.
Yeah, you definitely get like a good mix of like creative design and then also like technical skills. So I think they do a good job at getting you both of those so that when you get into the field, you're a good like problem solver, but you also have like the skills that the firm is looking for.
Okay, we're getting towards the end, about 5 minutes to go. I don't know if this is a quick question or not. What type of laptop do you recommend? Does it have to be a high-end laptop?
Higher end, I would say. Um, Three main things to look for. It should be kind of a larger end. You don't want to be looking at an itty bitty screen. Um, it needs to have a dedicated graphics card. Um, and if you want to write this down, it should have a dedicated NVIDIA graphics card. You know, V-Ray, which is the rendering software we use, doesn't like using AMD graphics cards for whatever reason. So an NVIDIA graphics card would be a good thing to look at higher end. So I think the one that's usually recommended now is a 4060 or above, an NVIDIA RTX 4060 or above. Um, and then I think an Intel i7 CPU at least is also a good one. Um, I would recommend getting a Windows computer. I know some people do have Mac computers, and it's doable to have a Mac computer, but my preference is to have a Windows computer, and that's coming from someone that never used a Windows machine before coming to college. I only used Macs my entire life, and I don't use a Mac for any of my school stuff. I mean, I have a little MacBook, and it is solely for like TV shows. So that's what I would recommend. Windows machine, dedicated graphics card, large screen, and a mouse. You need a mouse, and don't get a bad mouse. Think about it. Your hand is gonna be on that mouse for at least 8 hours a day. You don't want a bad mouse. Get a nice mouse.
And just to add on, I actually got my laptop through RPI's program, where they provide you a laptop, and I'm really grateful for that because um, I'm all set for it. And if I did have any problems, we do have the computing system here, the VCC. So if my screen cracked a little bit, I can go there, I can have it replaced. And if I need to get a loaner laptop for the day, they can provide that for me. So that was the way I did it. I just got the laptop through the school and it worked out pretty well for me.
And even if you don't go get your laptop from the school, I think you can still use the VCC to repair and look at stuff if things are broken.
So we're getting towards the end. Jeffrey asks, do you know of any fellow students that are looking to start their own firm and kind of going solo as an architect? What are your thoughts on that? Have you heard anybody going down that road?
Yeah, a whole bunch. I know there's a lot of alumni that have started their own practices. There's a lot of people that want to start their own practices. I would love to start my own practice. I have a friend who wants to start his own practice. So definitely happens. You have people that don't ever want to work by themselves and always want to work for someone else, and you have people that never want to work for someone else. So you get all ends of the spectrum being here.
Samantha asks, do you recommend going for a master's if you intend to get your license as soon as possible? Is it worth it, or should you just like jump straight into the field?
A lot of people, so if you're getting an accredited degree, I would say go to work first. I know a lot of professors, when asked the same question, also recommend going to work for a year or two, just because you get that cleanse of, okay, I've been in school, now let me go see what the world is like, and then I can go back to school. Um, Obviously, it would be different if you wanted to be licensed and you did not have an accredited degree, but if you're getting an accredited degree like at RPI, it's usually a good idea to go and work just for a palate cleanser. But that being said, there's lots of people that do just go straight to grad school after RPI because they want that master's degree, whether it's in architecture or urban planning or something similar. There's people that do both.
Okay, awesome. And this is going to be the last question before I kind of wrap things up. So Finn asks, are you experiencing anything regarding artificial intelligence in architectural work? Has that started to come into the curriculum? Has anyone had any experience there?
I'm not the biggest AI person myself, but I will say AI is not coming for our jobs anytime soon. AI cannot do code compliance, and AI can't be sued. So our jobs are totally fine against AI for quite a while.
Um,
But
I Sorry
Go
to
ahead, go ahead.
sorry to cut you off. I definitely think it depends on the classes you're taking and the studio you're taking or the professor. So I know for my last semester, my professor actually had us do AI studies um, to help further progress our project, which meant that we were just generating AI images that would help us kind of maneuver throughout our progress. And it definitely depends on the faculty member you're working with and the class you're in.
Okay. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to share my screen again as we wrap things up. What's next for our admitted students? We have a website, RPI Accepted Students. That's the link there. I'm going to drop that into the chat box as well. It's the one-stop shop for all things to do with your enrollment. You can sign up for one of our accepted student celebrations. It's great to see you all, or kind of to be here with you all virtually, not seeing you necessarily, but thanks for joining us tonight. But we really would love to see you on campus. Maybe it's your first time, maybe it's a second or third visit, like some of you. But definitely come up for March 22nd or April 12th for the accepted student celebrations. Big event on campus, meet lots of students and faculty, have a tour of Green and the different facilities that were mentioned, chat with some of the students, have a look at their work, at their projects. I think we do another student panel that day, so a chance for some more Q&A. If you can't come and see us for one of those days, then we do tours Monday through Saturday. And again, you can register for all of these events through our portal, through your application portal. And then we also do some more webinars as well. We've got financial aid webinars. We've got women at Rensselaer webinars. We've got life on campus webinars. Plus there's webinars from some of the other schools. So if you're thinking of getting a minor in engineering, maybe mechanical engineering, or a minor in design or communication, something like that, then maybe check out those webinars. That might be a great way to kind of get some more information there. And you can obviously submit your deposit as well via your application portal. The deadline is May 1st, so make sure you keep that date on your radar. And that is about it. So thank you so much to our panelists, to Carson, Liliana, Scott, and Heba. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time and your insight, your experience, and giving us another look at life in the School of Architecture. And I know you have a very busy time with your classes. So thank you so much for giving us some of your time this evening. And I'm just dropping those links into the chat box there. So thank you as well to all of you, all of our admitted students. Thank you for your time this evening. I will be following up with answers to the questions that weren't answered. I don't know if that's right. But I can also send you the slides from the small presentation at the beginning. I can also send you a recording of tonight's webinar. So just follow back up with me. You can email me. My email is down at the bottom there. My name is Matt. I work in admissions. We'd love to hear from you. And you can also arrange a visit of your own up to campus. If you can't do one of our formal visit days, then come up and ask to just sit in on a class or meet with one of our faculty, chat with a student, come and have lunch with us. If you want to meet with somebody from one of the architecture clubs or somebody from a robotics club, if you're into music, you can meet with a musician, a music student maybe. Lots of different ways to kind of get some more granular detail and hopefully move one step closer towards making RPI your home for the next 5 years. We'd love to see you here on campus. So thanks again to our students. Congratulations and thanks again to our admitted students, and take care and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night, everybody.